Hey guys, welcome back to the Ultimate Human Podcast. I'm your host, human biologist Gary Brecka, where we go down the road, everything anti-aging, longevity, biohacking, and everything in between. You know, over the past few weeks, we've gotten thousands of requests about food labeling. People want to know how to better read food labels. So what I decided to do is insert a quick short on my top 4 no-nos that you can find on the back of food labels, not because you haven't heard of these ingredients, but because how these ingredients hide on food labels, because the food industry is getting very crafty about using category summaries to avoid listing the direct ingredients. So by no means is this meant to be an exhaustive list of everything that's going to harm you, cause cancer, rip your gut apart, or give you dementia. This is meant to give you some solid basic ingredients that we can look for on the back of packaging so that we can make more informed choices, and we very often are not going to increase $1 in our budget and not going to change the flavor options, but have demonstratively better outcomes for our health. Again, the food industry has gotten really crafty using category summaries rather than direct ingredient names, and labeling questionable ingredients under terms like all natural or heart healthy or whole grain, and they're used in place of highly processed names. So I'm going to identify my top 4 no-nos on the ingredient labels. You can search for these, find healthier food options, and then stick to those brands in the future when you're back at the grocery store. This is not something you're going to have to do every single time you go into the grocery store. Once you learn which food choices have the best ingredients, you just continue to go back to those food choices, keep those in your pantry. Number 1, and I think everyone is going to agree with this one, is high fructose corn syrup. 99% of you are already aware, but sometimes the abbreviations used to sneak this into food labels are ingredient labels that people are unaware of. High fructose corn syrup, by the way, has been chemically altered to have very high concentrations of fructose and is labeled as, quote, all natural. So on the label, it will say all natural sugars, but in the ingredient list, you will see HFCS, or the entire thing written out, high fructose corn syrup. And this is, again, the ironically very high levels of fructose, which rapidly increases the absorption rate. Remember, there's something called the glycemic index, which tells us how quickly something raises our blood sugar, not just whether or not it shows up in the blood as sugar. Yes, you also find fructose in natural forms in fruit. So when we find this in highly processed foods in the form of high fructose corn syrup, it does not stimulate insulin secretion the way that glucose does, and it doesn't impact leptin production, which also controls our appetite. The combination of these two things leads to increased caloric intake and to weight gain. Remember also that sugars are not processed equally, and fructose is converted into the liver into triglyceride far more easily than other sugars. So the bottom line is that fructose and high fructose corn syrup can lead to overeating and weight gain. It can also sneak into the label as corn syrup, corn sugar, natural fructose flavoring, or natural flavoring.
Hey guys, if you've been watching the Ultimate Human Podcast for any length of time, you know that one thing I do not do is push products. I do not just let any advertiser into this space, because I believe that the products that appear on the Ultimate Human Podcast should be things that I use every day in my life to improve my own physiology. One of them is something called the Echo Go Plus. The Echo Go Plus is a hydrogen water generator that you can take on the go. You essentially take the top off of this bottle, you pour bottled water in this, and repeatedly it will make high part per million hydrogen water. You press this little button, you'll see these bubbles going up in the water. That's hydrogen being created in the water. There are all kinds of peer-reviewed, published clinical studies on the benefits of hydrogen water, including reduced inflammation, better absorption of your supplements, better absorption of your foods, better balance of the stomach acid, and it feeds an entire class of bacteria in your gut. Hydrogen water, in my opinion, is the most beneficial water that you can drink, and now you can take it wherever you go. You can go to Echo, E-C-H-O, H2O.com. That's Echo, E-C-H-O, H2O.com. Enter the code ULTIMATE10 for a discount. Echo H2O, enter the code ULTIMATE10 for a discount.
Number 2, sodium nitrates. The reason why I talk about sodium nitrates is that this is very often considered a sodium chloride, which is table salt. So a lot of people that are reading the back of a label think there's just a salt preservative in there, but this is a sodium nitrate. This is actually a preservative, is not table salt. They're not at all the same thing, and sodium nitrates are common preservatives which the World Cancer Research Center concluded are not safe for humans at any level. I will put a link to that research paper below so that you can read the paper for yourself. I want you to look for labels like grass-fed, uncured, free-range, or nitrate-free. Even deli meats and bacon come in nitrate-free versions. Once you find the nitrate-free version, go back to that brand over and over. Number 3, aspartame. I am shocked how many thousands of products still contain aspartame and contain it in relatively high amounts. In 2018, there was a study published in the Journal of Nutritional Science entitled Neurophysiologic Symptoms and Aspartame, What is the Connection? I will also put a link to this study in the show notes below, and I'm going to read directly from the abstract. It says, aspartame, an artificial sweetener, has been linked to behavioral and cognitive problems in humans. Possible neurophysiologic symptoms include learning problems, headache, seizure, migraine, irritable mood, anxiety, depression, and insomnia. The consumption of aspartame, unlike dietary protein, can elevate the levels of phenylalanine and aspartic acid in the brain, and these compounds can inhibit the synthesis and release of neurotransmitters dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. That is a quote directly from the abstract. So I don't think the jury is out any longer on aspartame. There was a second study published later that same year in the Journal of Clinical Nutrition. This was entitled The Debate Over Neurotransmitter Interaction and Aspartame Usage. Again, I'll read directly from the abstract. This is under the brand name NutraSweet and Equal, but aspartame is a widely used artificial sweetener, has been reported to be accountable directly for neurological and behavioral disturbances in people. Upon ingestion, aspartame is hydrolyzed in the gut and provides its metabolite, which is an amino acid called phenylalanine, which is an essential amino acid, aspartic acid, and methanol, but altered brain neurochemical compositions such as dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin have long been a concern and being involved in observational neurophysiologic symptoms such as headaches, memory loss, mood changes, and depression. So aspartame is a no-go. In my mind, this one is closed, this debate is over, and this is a no-fly zone on any of our food labels.
Most of us have a very difficult time meeting our protein needs, and certain protein sources like whey protein and others can be as little as 20% absorbable. This is 99% absorbable, and it has all of the essential amino acids that the body needs to build lean muscle, to recover, to improve our exercise performance, and most importantly, to repair after we have intense exercise. So this is called Perfect Amino by Body Health. It's, like I said, 99% absorbable. It only has 2 calories. Eventually, the caloric intake has virtually no caloric intake. It will not break a fast. It tastes amazing. You mix it in water. I take this literally every single morning. If you're working out in a fasted state, you have to take a full spectrum amino acid prior to your workout to preserve your lean muscle and make sure that you're recovering properly. And again, it will not break your fast. So the caloric impact is virtually zero. You get all of the full spectrum amino acids. It tastes wonderful. I use it every single day. You can go to bodyhealth.com/ultimate. That's bodyhealth.com/ultimate and look for the perfect aminos. They actually come in capsules if you're on the go, or it comes in several flavors that they make in a powder, which I love. It's flavored with natural means of flavoring, so there's no artificial sweeteners in here. So this is one of my absolute favorite products. Give it a try. If you're working out at all, you need a full spectrum amino acid. Go to bodyhealth.com/ultimate. That's bodyhealth.com/ultimate. I love their lab tested products. You can actually see the absorption rate for all of their products. They've got great electrolyte protein combinations. My favorite is the perfect aminos. bodyhealth.com/ultimate. And now back to the Ultimate Human Podcast.
Number 4, hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated oils. This is one where the food industry is getting particularly tricky because food labels are not required to state whether or not they have trans fat, so long as there's less than 0.5 gram per serving. So you actually have to go down into the ingredients and look for the words hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated and then put it back on the shelf. These types of fats are absolutely the worst fats for your metabolism. They significantly increase inflammation. They've been linked directly to obesity, lower levels of cholesterol, meaning lower levels of good cholesterol, increased levels of bad cholesterol, and several other health risks. So look for the words hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated in front of the oil name. That's going to identify whether or not there are trans fats in that food. Hey guys, I hope you find these 4 no-fly zone food ingredients helpful. Not trying to scare you or fearmonger you, but you can get these 4 things off your labels and then go back over and over again to the brands that don't contain any of those 4 compounds. And as always, that's just science.